Imagine you're in a quiet room. It's dark, you're falling asleep, but then you look up and you see... Welcome to Psychomanteum. I'm Karin Shah. Here we venture into the other side of the mirror. Paranormal mysteries, scary stories, and all things supernatural. If that sounds like your jam, and if you like what you hear, please drop a like so we can grow. Now, gather round, everyone. This is going to be long. My experience with this house started when I was around 10 years old. My stepdad's mom lived in this huge house that was really old and creepy, and she babysat me during the summer when I was out of school while my mom was at work. I remember hearing his mom and dad talk about the ghost who they called George. I thought they were just picking on me and joking until the time it flooded the bridge at the end of their driveway and I had to spend the night there. I laid on the couch that night and cried because I could hear someone walking around upstairs, but I knew that no one was up there. Honestly, I wasn't sure that it wasn't just the old wooden floors creaking like some old houses do. All I knew for sure was that I never wanted to have to spend the night there again. After that summer was over, I hardly ever visited the house again, and my mom and stepdad divorced a year or so later. Fast forward to when I was 16 years old. I met this guy who was trying so hard to hook up with me. He was 10 years older than me, had a brand new truck, and his own place. I was a little creeped out by the age difference at first, but it wasn't long until he had talked me into coming to spend the night with him. We go riding around for a while before going to his house. When we start up Mulberry Creek Road, I was telling him how I used to be babysat by a lady who lived a few miles down that road in the old 4-H camp caretaker's house. He looks at me and says, "Yeah, I moved in there after Anna and Cecil, stepdad's parents, moved out." I jokingly said that the house had called me back to it. So the guy has a daughter who was like 5 years old, and she would come stay every other weekend. She was such a sweet and well-behaved little girl, but she absolutely refused to play in her bedroom by herself. She would say that the little boy in there was mean to her. Everyone who had lived in the house before agreed that the house was definitely haunted, so it was creepy to see her react that way for sure. She was fine with playing in there if someone was with her, so I had been in her room with her playing with her baby dolls and Barbies and stuff. When her dad left to take her home, I stayed at the house and cleaned her room and put all her toys away. She had the little toy set that had a baby doll stroller, a carrier, and a high chair for her dolls. So after I put away the toys, I put a doll in each of the stroller, carrier, and high chair, and I sat them up on her dresser in a row. When I finished cleaning, I headed downstairs, and as soon as I got to the bottom of the stairs, I heard bang, bang, bang. I knew that I was the only one in the house, so I went up there to see what had happened. The dolls and the things they were in were on the other side of the room, upside down. They had been thrown across the room. A few months later, me and my ex were sitting in the living room watching TV. It was close to Christmas, and I had the house decorated and the Christmas tree up. All of a sudden, something hits the Christmas tree, and several glass ball ornaments hit the wall behind our heads and shatter. Before moving to England at 25, my partner and I decided I should stay home and rack up some money. Quite a rough time for us, and stuff started happening in my room that truly just creeped me out. At first, it was just sounds like steps around my bed, stuff falling in the closet, randomly, and my TV always doing this weird thing where it goes static. The only thing was, this was my dad's house since my parents' divorce. Built in 2016, this was a TV I had bought when I first moved out in 2014. All this started making me a bit freaked out, so I told my best friend since childhood, and she reminded me of that stuff happening throughout my childhood, including some things that actually caused me harm. waking up with scratches. TV fell on me when I was 6. For all you young ones, the TV weighed like 80 pounds. I wasn't able to move it by myself. To which I suddenly got really freaked out. One night I woke up and I had to pee. I woke up instantly feeling alert, which is unusual. I couldn't move out of fear, and finally I told myself I was being silly and just go. When I grabbed my phone off the bedside table, a hand grasped my wrist, and this woman covered in black muck with the most horrible face screamed in my face, flew at me, and nothing. I woke up again to nothing but pain around my wrist. A red mark was visible the next day, and I just continued on. My now husband came to save the relationship and stayed with me and my dad for a couple of months, and 3 nights in, I woke up and looked to him as he frantically mumbled and fidgeted around. He was in a massive sweat, and my room likes to sit at a good -10 Celsius. He doesn't dream. I tried poking him, just softly saying, "It's okay, wake up," and he jolted awake, screaming. What he then said he has never ever wanted to talk about to this day. He said he woke up and needed to go to the bathroom. When he got to the bedroom door, it started shaking, then slamming out of its hinges. He went to open the door, thinking it must be my dad, when the door flies open, and this woman in black screamed in his face, and then he woke up. I went out the next day and got sage. I smudged the house before my dad got home from work several times. I believed it was done, and that, well, was paranormal, and there wasn't any other way to explain what happened since I didn't tell my partner about my dream or that weird things were happening. We visited last summer, 2025, and one night out of the 7 we stayed at my dad's. I woke up alert and just thought it was from going a bit hard with my hometown friends the night before, so I kind of laughed it off and went to scroll Instagram. Scrolled, then tried to go back to sleep when I heard a sound from the closet. Looked to the closet. The room has blackout curtains now. Nothing in there but a bed, a small TV mounted on the wall, and a small dresser in the closet and board games up on top. The only light in the room is the standby light on the TV. Something stepped into the glow of the standby light, slowly, as if they walked up. I stared in disbelief, then fanned my arms around the bed to make sure it wasn't the blanket, somehow, or my husband's legs. It didn't flinch. After a 3-minute stare-off, I assume it felt as much, it stepped back from the light. Nothing happened, just felt like a message of, "I'm still here." I absolutely believe in the paranormal now, and I don't want to mess with it at all. I've posted about this before, but I'll tell it again. I'm a lover of horror/supernatural/creepy things. I spent a lot of my teens and childhood ghost hunting with my friends in random graveyards, run-down neighborhoods, abandoned factories, etc. That being said, we never really encountered anything other than psychosomatic ghosts that our overactive imagination created. Despite loving horror, I didn't really believe that any sort of corporeal ghosts were real. When I was 15, I traveled to Europe with my family. We stayed in Ettel, Germany, in a small inn for a few nights. My parents had a double on the 2nd floor, my sisters had the double bedroom next to theirs, and I was lucky enough to have a single room all to myself at the far end of the hall. When we went to check into our rooms, as soon as I entered the hallway our rooms were in, I remember almost feeling as though I walked into a wall of bad energy. I just felt so unnerved and uneasy in that hallway, but I passed it off as overactive imagination. I slept the first night without any issues other than waking up a few times. The next morning at breakfast, one of my sisters mentioned feeling really uncomfortable in the hallway, almost as if the air was crushing. It unnerved me even more that I wasn't the only one who felt weirded out. Plus, she was an adult at the time. So it further cemented in my head that that wing of the hotel was odd. Later that night, I'm sleeping peacefully when at about 2 a.m., I'm woken by something ripping the covers off me and being jerked about 2 feet toward the end of the bed by my ankle. At first I thought someone had broken into my room, because when I turned toward what had grabbed me, a huge looming black shape was visible in the darkness, like a man was in my room. I frantically flipped the light on, only to have there be nothing there. The window was locked from the inside. There was no one in the closet or the bathroom, and my room was also still locked from the inside. I stayed up the rest of the night, scared shitless, playing Cooking Mama on my DS. Next morning, we're at breakfast, and my sister mentions that she was up half the night because she thought she saw a person silhouetted against the wall of the room. But when she turned on the light, there was no one there. It was just a bizarre and creepy experience. We checked out that day, so I didn't get to experience anything after that, but it still freaks me out to this day. Thanks for listening. Please drop us a like and subscribe. In the following days, look for more stories, both true and fictional, and explorations of all things creepy and unexplained. If you have a story to share, drop an email to the address in the description. Until next time, think twice before you look behind you in the mirror. There may be something on the other side.